Hey, what is up? In the middle of the night, Riley Flynn was driving drunk when he tragically crashed into the car of a young woman named Tara. He walked away unharmed, but Tara lost her life. Although accidental on Riley's part, he was convicted for Tara's death and sentenced to 4 years in prison. During his incarceration, he proves to be a man of faith, reading the Bible daily. However, his nights in prison offered no solace. He was haunted by visions of the deceased Tara. 4 years later, Riley is released and returns to his hometown, Crockett Island. Crockett Island is a small, isolated fishing community with a population of only about 100 to 150 people. The local economy relies mainly on fishing. However, a year earlier, a massive oil spill in the waters decimated the fish population, causing many residents to leave the island in search of better opportunities. Most of the island's inhabitants are Christian, and there is only one single church. When Riley gets off the boat and steps onto his home island, he is greeted by his mother, who came to meet him. She forgave him for the car accident from 4 years ago, but Riley's father has not yet extended that same forgiveness. Riley also underwent a significant transformation during those 4 years. He is no longer the devout man he used to be. His faith in God has been completely eroded. On the way home, Riley and his mother encounter Sheriff Hassan, the law enforcement officer of Crockett Island, who greets them. He is taking Joe, a local alcoholic, into custody. He does this regularly to prevent Joe from wandering and getting lost while intoxicated. Elsewhere, Erin, a pregnant young woman, is visiting Dr. Sarah, the island's only doctor. Both women notice Riley and his mother returning. It is revealed that Riley and Erin had a romantic involvement in the past. Even back in his own home, Riley finds no peace at night, still tormented by visions of Tara. Riley's younger brother Warren, along with his friends Allie, the sheriff's son, and Euchre, take some substances to an isolated spot on the other side of the island by boat where they use them. Meanwhile, the islanders gather as Sheriff Hassan and the mayor inform them about a severe storm forecast for the following night. They advise everyone to stay indoors and, if the storm intensifies, to seek shelter in the church. At this meeting, Bev Keane, who manages the church's affairs, tries to belittle Sheriff Hassan, primarily due to his Muslim faith. Keane harbors prejudice against people of other religions. She is a devout woman who constantly censors others and actively tries to convert people to her own specific beliefs. Later during dinner, Riley's mother asks him to accompany her to church the next day. He refuses, stating that he no longer believes in those things. In the morning, everyone gathered at the church for morning prayer. The mayor's wife, Dolly, is there with her daughter, Lisa, who has been confined to a wheelchair since being shot in the leg. Additionally, Riley's mother managed to get him to church against his will. Inside, they discover that a new priest, Father Paul, has arrived. He introduces himself and begins the morning prayer. After the service, he administers communion, offering wine and bread to the congregation, and ends up making a positive impression on the faithful. That night, a severe storm with heavy rain hits Crockett Island. Through the window, Riley spots a figure looking like Father Paul standing on the shore amidst the storm. He runs out to help, but the mysterious figure completely disappears. The next morning, Riley's family discovers several dead cats washed ashore on the beach with their necks apparently broken. This horrific sight alarms them. The mayor, fearing a potential epidemic, orders the cats to be removed and buried. Next, Father Paul visits Dr. Sarah's house. He went there to read morning prayers for Sarah's ailing mother, Mildred, encouraging her to trust in God. The priest also gives Mildred some of the church's communion wine. The following day is Easter. Everyone goes to church, where Father Paul delivers a sermon full of wisdom, asking them to never lose hope in life. Riley needed to travel to the mainland for his Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and Father Paul, knowing this, arranges for the meetings to be held on the island to save him time. It turns out that Riley was legally required to attend these meetings due to the fatal accident that he caused a few years ago. Meanwhile, the mayor and others are enjoying an Easter party. Joe arrives with his dog, which visibly annoys the mayor and his wife Dolly. The exchange of words reveals that Joe was responsible for Lisa's disability. He had accidentally shot her in the leg, leaving her unable to walk. During this party, someone poisons and kills Joe's dog. Sheriff Hassan's investigation reveals that Bev Keane had recently bought rat poison, leading him to conclude that she was responsible, as she strongly disliked the animal. Later, Riley attends his meeting with Father Paul. The priest engages him in a discussion about religion and God, which agitates Riley. He says he does not believe in God, arguing that if he existed, Tara would not have died and his life would not be in ruins. If God existed, the mayor's daughter would not be confined to a wheelchair. These tragic things simply prove his point perfectly. If God existed, so many houses would not have been destroyed in the recent storm. Father Paul patiently listens to Riley's outburst, replying that God tests people in various ways. After that, Riley and Aaron meet once again. That night, on the other side of the island, a drug dealer named Bull is attacked and killed by a strange monster that then drinks his blood. The next morning at the church, Father Paul distributes bread and wine. This time, however, he asks the mayor's daughter, Lisa, to walk over to him to receive communion. This suggestion initially angers the crowd, but then miraculously, Lisa stands up and walks toward the priest. The mayor and Dolly cry tears of joy. But immediately after healing Lisa, Father Paul falls ill and quickly retreats to his room, coughing up blood. After the miracle, the islanders begin going to the priest, hoping for solutions to their own personal problems. Bev encourages them, saying that if they attend church regularly, God will soon show mercy to them as well. This miracle revitalizes faith in the church across the entire island. Consequently, Keene distributes Bibles for all the school children to take home. This action displeases Sheriff Hassan, a Muslim, especially because his son Ali brought a Bible home. Hassan raises this issue at a school meeting, but finds no support except from Aaron. Those who attend church regularly begin to experience remarkable improvements in their health. Riley's mother can now see without her glasses, something previously considered impossible. His father's chronic back pain also disappears entirely. Dr. Sarah's mother, Mildred, also recovers and walks again, another impossible recovery. A common factor among everyone experiencing these cures is their daily church attendance and the consumption of the wine given by Father Paul. This mysterious wine seems to be the true source of their healing. The rumor about the church's miracles continues to spread. Influenced by this, Sheriff Hassan's son Ali asks to go to church, but the sheriff refuses, believing that something other than God or the church is responsible for these events. At this point, everything on the island seems to be improving, and many believe the place was blessed by God. However, Father Paul is gradually getting weaker. He is also seen secretly adding a blood-like substance to the communion wine. Lisa, now recovered, slowly regains her ability to walk. She starts spending time with Riley's brother Warren, revealing a mutual interest. One day, Lisa visits Joe and forgives him for the accident that left her crippled, choosing to move forward. Joe is radiant with her forgiveness and cries, while Lisa encourages him to stop drinking. That night, Riley meets Joe at the recovery meeting. Riley is glad to finally see his old friend doing better. The priest informs that Joe is determined to change and has decided to stop drinking, and Riley is genuinely happy to hear this. At the same time, he and Aaron also grow closer, developing a strong friendship. Back at the church, Father Paul suddenly falls unconscious during the prayer. At this moment, a flashback reveals his history. The former priest of the church, Monsignor Pruitt, severely ill and near the end of his life, traveled to the Holy Land hoping for wellness. Due to his advanced age and failing health, his time was running out. During his pilgrimage, he became separated from his group and was caught in a sandstorm. He found refuge in a dark cave. Upon lighting his lighter, he found a vampire-like creature. The monster began to drink his blood, but instead of killing him, forced him to drink its blood. When the Monsignor woke up the next morning, he discovered he was young. The vampire's blood, it seems, possesses the power to rejuvenate and cure any disease, which is what happened to him. It turns out that the Monsignor is actually Father Paul, who returned to Crockett Island in his rejuvenated state. He believes the monster is an angel that granted him youth. Consequently, he brought the monster back to the island with him, hidden in a crate, intending for everyone to receive its blessing. Father Paul had been secretly mixing the communion wine with the vampire monster's blood. This was the reason for the miraculous cures among the sick islanders. Dr. Sarah's mother was also getting younger and healthier because of this. One night, Bev Keene, the mayor, and his wife Dolly are at Father Paul's house discussing an upcoming party when the priest suddenly vomits blood and passes out. The mayor checks his pulse and discovers that he has completely died from whatever afflicted his body. However, Father Paul abruptly wakes up. He had died and come back to life. Keene proclaims it is a miracle from God, but the mayor and Dolly are terrified. Next, Erin visits Dr. Sarah for her routine checkup. The doctor informs her that the baby is no longer in her womb. She somehow miscarried without realizing it. Such an event seems impossible, but impossible things have become the norm on the island. Devastated by the news about her baby, Erin travels to the mainland for a second opinion at a larger hospital. The doctor there says she was never pregnant. Erin is perplexed and insists, saying she saw it on the ultrasound monitor with her own eyes and felt the heart beating. Finding the assessment absurd, Erin returns to the island. That same day, she meets Riley at his house and shares her pain. She tells him about the supposed loss and opens up about her past. Her mother was a cruel woman who abused her in childhood, always wanting a male child. At 16, Erin fled the island. She tried acting in big cities but ended up marrying an abusive man who beat her when he was drunk. Then she discovered she was pregnant. Her child represented a new hope for her life. She left her husband and returned to Crockett Island to start over. But now her hope is gone. Riley cries and confides to Erin that his life has been pure hell since the accident. He also suffers from sleepless nights. They share an emotional moment and Riley promises to visit her the next day. Meanwhile, Father Paul, after his resurrection, discovers he cannot tolerate sunlight as it burns his skin. He has become a vampire because the monster's blood was in his system. This dark transformation begins to severely complicate his divine mission on the island. Anyone with vampire blood in their system who dies will resurrect as a full vampire, but the priest does not know this fact yet, believing his condition is a divine gift. Bev enters his room and says that she, the mayor, and Dolly know he is Monsignor Pruitt. Having seen his young photograph in his room, they swear to keep his secret, as Keen now sees the priest as a manifestation of God. When she leaves, Father Paul feels an intense hunger, but not for food. He clenches his fist tightly and blood begins to drip, so he cuts his hand with a cross and drinks his own blood. As night falls, the priest goes to pray with Dr. Sarah's mother, Mildred. This time, she recognizes him as Monsignor Pruitt since they were close friends in their youth. She asks how he became young again. He simply smiles as he prepares to answer her genuine question. He answers that it is simply a blessing from God, asking her to accept it too. Later that night, Father Paul feels the urge to drink blood again. At that moment, Joe arrives at his house, unable to stay sober and hoping the priest can help him. Father Paul hugs Joe, saying he is proud of him, and then holds him tightly. Joe struggles to break free, but cannot. In the confusion, his head hits a table, killing him. Unable to control himself any longer, Father Paul begins to drink Joe's blood. Bev Keen arrives and witnesses the scene. She tells Father Paul it is not his fault, claiming God did this for their benefit. She then summons the mayor and his associate Sturge, instructing them to dispose of Joe's body in the sea. Bev also tells the mayor that Joe was a terrible plague. She actively justifies the crime. She blames him for crippling his daughter and reminds him of who healed her, suggesting he should not mourn Joe's death. Keen sees Father Paul as an instrument of God, and since the mayor's daughter was healed because of him, they agree to cover up the incident. The following night, Riley arrives at the hall for his meeting. He asks about Joe, wondering why he is not there. Father Paul says Joe went to the mainland to visit his sister, and Riley immediately knows the priest is lying. He knows this because Joe once mentioned that his sister died a long time ago. Riley leaves, but the lie bothers him, so he decides to return to the hall to confront the priest. Inside, Father Paul is stressed, waiting for someone. The vampire creature that rejuvenated him then appears and begins to fill a bottle with its own blood. The monster acts efficiently. He uses this blood to mix into the communion wine among the churchgoers. At that moment, Riley enters the hall and sees Father Paul on the floor and a strange-looking creature before him. The vampire notices his presence and attacks him immediately. When Riley does not return home, Erin searches for him all over the island but finds no trace. Scared, she goes to Sheriff Hassan to file a missing person report. The sheriff informs her that 2 other people have also disappeared, Joe and the drug dealer. He assures Erin that he will do his best to find Riley. Meanwhile, Father Paul can no longer go out during the day, so he reschedules the church prayers for the night. Later, Mildred attends the evening prayer. Everyone is surprised to see her, as she was close to death but is now completely cured and getting younger every single day. She looks amazing. After the prayer, Father Paul delivers a very aggressive sermon. He asks everyone to stop engaging in worldly battles and join God's army. Hearing this, Mildred leaves the church and tells her daughter Sarah that this is not the priest she knew. At midnight, Riley appears at Erin's house. Annoyed, she asks where he has been since the previous day. Riley asks her to go with him on a boat to the middle of the ocean, and Erin accepts. When they are far from the shore, Riley begins to tell Erin everything that happened. He explains that he saw a vampire monster in the church hall that attacked him and drank his blood. A flashback shows that Riley died while the monster fed on him. However, since he had also ingested the vampire blood mixed into the wine, he woke up again, but this time as a fully transformed vampire creature of the night. As soon as he regained consciousness, he tried to flee, but the sunlight began to burn his skin. Father Paul saved him by saying he was no longer human, but a messenger chosen by God. He also revealed that he was indeed the Monsignor and that the creature Riley saw was an angel that made him young. Bev Keen then arrived and tried to persuade Riley to join them, also saying he was chosen by God and was special. At that moment, Riley could feel Keen's heartbeat and the blood rushing through her veins, so she offered him a glass of blood that he could not refuse, and he drank it. However, he understood that all of that was wrong. After that, he went straight to Aaron. Riley had gone to the middle of the ocean, so he could not escape what was about to happen to him under the blazing sun. Aaron finds it hard to believe Riley's story, but he continues confessing his love for her, saying he will always love her even after death. Aaron says she has started to love him again too, and Riley says she must leave the island no matter what happens. Aaron does not understand his words at that moment, to which he replies that she will understand everything in the morning. At that moment, the day dawns. As soon as the first rays of sun hit Riley, his entire body burns to ashes, and Aaron screams in sheer horror. At that moment, Tara appears, the girl Riley killed in the car accident, taking his hand and leading him across the sea to the afterlife. Shortly after this traumatic event, a terrified Aaron runs to her friend Sarah and tells her everything about Riley's death, Father Paul, and what is happening in the church with all those people. Initially, Dr. Sarah does not believe it, but then she looks at her mother, who now looks even younger than her. Sarah had already collected blood samples from several islanders, including her mother. When exposed to sunlight, just as Aaron described Riley's burning, the blood samples also ignite. Convinced, Sarah tells Aaron that the church members are probably adding some substance to the wine that is causing people's old cells to regenerate, making them young and healthy. Sarah and Aaron realize Father Paul is mixing something dangerous into the wine that people are completely unaware of. Sarah immediately goes to Sheriff Hassan with this vital information. However, he states he cannot investigate the church without evidence. Seeing this, Sarah, her mother, and Aaron decide to leave the island. They discover the mayor removed all the ferries to the mainland during the day by strict order of the corrupted local church. Father Paul does not want anyone to leave the island that night, as he is planning an Easter Mass where he intends to reveal something significant to everyone. Meanwhile, the mayor's associate, Sturge, cuts the wires and disables the networks of all remaining boats, isolating the island completely. Sarah, her mother, and Aaron see people heading to the church with candles. Realizing that something terrible is about to happen to them, the three decide to go to the church to try to save everyone. Sheriff Hassan's son Ali insists on going to church, claiming Father Paul is going to perform a great miracle that he wants to witness. The sheriff decides to accompany Ali, partly to investigate the strange occurrences Sarah had reported. So everyone gathers in the church. Father Paul confesses he is Monsignor Pruitt, admitting he lied to everyone present about his real identity and past life. He says he found an angel who gave him its blood, and by drinking it he became immortal and young forever. God resurrected him, and that day he would make them all immortal and eternally young like him because the angel's blood already flowed within them. Everyone is stunned. Then Father Paul calls Sturge and makes him drink poison, killing him. Seconds later, Sturge reanimates as a vampire. Terrified, Sheriff Hassan tries to leave with Ali. However, the vampire monster, dressed as an angel as described by Father Paul, appears before them. It opens its demonic wings, and Bev Keen distributes cups of poison to everyone. She convinces Ali to drink. And when Sheriff Hassan is about to shoot them in anger, he's restrained by the crowd. Ali drinks the poison, dies, and resurrects as a vampire. Witnessing this, people gradually begin to die and reanimate as terrifying vampires. However, some like Sarah, Aaron, Liza, Warren, Riley's mother, Sheriff Hassan, and Mildred refuse. Enraged, Mildred shoots Father Paul in the head, killing him temporarily, but the vampire monster grabs her and flies away with her. Chaos erupts in the church, and the newly transformed vampires begin to feed on those who did not transform. Keen traps the remaining humans, and seizing an opportunity, Aaron shoots her, allowing everyone to escape. After dying, Keen also resurrects as a vampire. The survivors devise a plan to kill the vampires, believing that if even one escapes the island, it will destroy the world. This fight is no longer just for their survival, but for all of humanity. As they discuss this, Keen arrives and sets their house on fire. Riley's mother goes out to create a distraction for her, allowing the others to escape out the back while she heroically sacrifices herself for everyone. The remaining group, led by Aaron, heads toward the coast while Liza and Warren grab weapons and gasoline at Joe's house. They then spot the vampire monster in a house drinking someone's blood. Realizing it is a monster, not an angel, Liza shoots it, but it is so engrossed in feeding that the bullets have no effect. The girl then douses it with gasoline and sets it on fire, but the creature wrapped in flames flies away and puts out the fire. Some infected pursue them, and avoiding them, everyone runs toward the coast. They set all the boats there on fire to prevent any vampire from escaping, saving only one small boat. They put Liza and Warren in this boat and send them away from the island. Outside the church, Mildred has also become a vampire. She and Father Paul sit in the church talking very calmly and sadly. The priest tells her he had good intentions for everyone but ended up ruining everything. He just wanted to cure her. The conversation reveals that he and Mildred were a couple in their youth and Sarah is his daughter. He did not acknowledge her at the time and left Mildred. However, Father Paul soon regretted abandoning them both. He brought the angel to the island solely to make Mildred and her daughter immortal, so the three of them could live together forever, and she gets emotional hearing this. Meanwhile, Bev Keane burns down all the houses on the island to kill any remaining survivors or force them to take refuge in the church. She spares the church and the recreation hall as she prepared rooms there to protect herself from the sun. However, Aaron and the others know the vampires will hide there during the day, so they plan to burn those structures. Seeing the island burn, Father Paul confronts Keane, asking what she has done and saying that it is wrong. Keane dismisses him as useless and cowardly, declaring that he is no longer the priest he used to be. Hurt by this, Father Paul decides to stay in the church until morning. Upon entering, he finds Dr. Sarah dousing the place with gasoline. He reveals to her that he is her father and loves her very much. Sarah begins to cry, but before father and daughter can talk further, Sturge shoots her. Father Paul and Mildred rush to their daughter, and to save her life, he tries to make her drink his blood, but she spits it out, saying she does not want to become a blood-drinking monster and prefers to die. When Sarah dies, an enraged Father Paul sets the entire church on fire and carries Sarah's body outside, suffering greatly. At that moment, Bev Keane declares herself the new leader, the new priest, and shoots Sheriff Hassan, who was trying to set the recreation hall on fire. Erin is also about to set the hall on fire when the vampire monster attacks her and begins to drink her blood. However, Erin uses a knife to repeatedly cut its wings, which the vampire does not notice, as absorbed as it is in feeding. Seeing his father's condition, Ali sets the recreation hall on fire himself, completing Hassan's task. Witnessing this, Hassan quotes a Bible verse to Keane, saying that God makes the sun rise on the evil and the good, which infuriates her, and she shoots Hassan. While the church burns, people slowly begin to come to their senses. They realize they are only killing their own families and feel immense guilt over their horrific actions. People feel immense guilt for their actions and decide to give up with the first light of dawn. On the other side, the vampire tries to escape, but its damaged wings prevent it from flying properly. Erin is injured and lying down, looking at the sky and awaiting her death. Before she dies, she dreams that she is with Riley. Keane, however, is not yet willing to die. She frantically tries to dig a hole in the ground to escape the sunlight. Then morning arrives, and with the sunrise, everyone burns to death. Keane also does not escape her tragic fate. Sheriff Hassan and his son Ali say their final prayers and perish together. Meanwhile, Liza and Warren are still on the boat. They are the last survivors of the island and feel the ashes falling. Along with this, the sensation in Liza's leg suddenly disappears once again. This likely means that the first vampire died with the first light of day, and with his death, the magic of his blood also ended. Thus ends Midnight Mass, a horror and mystery miniseries released in 2021. And I wait for you in the next video. That was Solving Movies. Thanks for watching. Peace out.